Hello and welcome to this edition of To Talk. As you can tell, we're starting off the year on the road again, and this month we are up at Must Ministries. Now, it is not technically located in District 2, however, their services are provided across the county. And joining me today is Ike Reingard, who is the CEO and president of Must Ministries, and also the senior pastor at Piedmont.
Yes, sir.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate you having me on today.
So, so let's find out a little bit about you. I mean, you started as a minister. You're at the senior pastor at Piedmont. How'd you end up over here?
Well, I've been in the community for 10 years altogether at that point in time, and I was a raving fan of Must Ministries. They did a great job. We might call with a situation with a family where we weren't sure exactly how to meet all of their needs, how to give them a sense of direction at times. Must was always there, and I know every time I called Must, someone would call me back, give me a report, tell me how that family was doing. So I became a fan of Must before I ever came here.
Okay, so now, I mean, you know, folks know that, you know, churches, of course, are helping lots of people all the time. You know, I mean,
Sure.
Some churches bring people homeless in when it gets cold. They have food pantries. I don't think folks understand a lot of what Must does. So
Okay.
you help folks get a job.
We do.
You help folks with food when they're in need with food. You help them with housing, and you help them with clothes.
That's correct.
So let's walk folks through. I mean, you know, folks have seen, you know, the collection baskets from Must Ministries,
Sure.
but let's kind of tell them a little bit about what you do. So, you know, the food baskets, when folks put the food in, you know, you have a food pantry here.
We do. We come to three main locations to have our food pantries, and we also have a food pantry up in Cherokee County. Then we have one at South Cobb at Pat Mill Road.
Okay.
Is one of our other locations, and then here at the site where we are today that we call the Foothills location.
Okay, which is at the base of Kennesaw Mountain.
That's correct.
Okay.
And so all of our sites are important to what we're able to accomplish. If you were to really look at where's the most foot traffic that comes in and where's the greatest concentration of need, it's our South Cobb location. Tremendous amount of need in that area. So Must is there. And the great thing about Must is it's been around for 41 years. Started out as a youth ministry project, which amazes me because I'm a former youth minister a long time ago.
And you've really kind of grown beyond, I mean, so much beyond just youth ministry.
Oh, it's amazing. But to look back and to think about, you know, it was a very small thing for a very small group of people, and then the need just continued to expand, as did the organization's capability.
Well, and you mentioned South Cobb, but I mean, you know, I think people would be surprised to find out that there are needs all around, especially in District 2. I mean, you know, folks think that, District 2, East Cobb and Vining, is it true? There are just as many people in need all around the county.
All you have to do is begin to look at what are the free and reduced lunch programs like in the schools. And you can see really quickly that there are pockets of need all over Cobb County. And it does surprise people when it's more North Cobb, East Cobb, and they think, well, that's an area of affluence. But in the midst of the affluence.
Yeah, it can happen to anyone.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, you mentioned the schools because, yes, you have the three food pantries you talked about, but you actually have pantries scattered around.
24 different schools in Cobb, Marietta City Schools, and we also have a pantry at Kennesaw State University. What I love about those, Bob, is that sometimes transportation is a tough issue for our clients. And so if we can be on a bus line, it helps when we have our physical locations you come to, but that's limited in its own way.
Right, so I mean, you know, and we'll talk about the jobs here in a second, but so somebody who gets a job and, you know, is really important for them to be at that job every day.
It
and
is.
may not have time to get food. Now with these 24 locations, you've kind of brought the food pantry to them.
You just described in a nutshell what our strategy was, and that was exactly it. How do we go from asking people to come see us in one of our physical locations to how do we go to them? And so there was a wonderful group called Alive Ministries that actually started a program called Save It Forward. Save It Forward is extreme couponing. And this one mom, Rhonda Smith, thought, if I can save my family so much money on their groceries, why couldn't I do that for a larger group of people?
Okay.
And that's how Save It Forward started. So we have a team of people that clip those coupons, and then they put them in envelopes and they distribute them to all kinds of different groups, everything from homeowners associations
And so then
to
that's what they go
businesses.
buy?
And they go out, and you might spend $6 on product, but you'll walk out with maybe $30 worth
Okay.
of product. You're only spending $6. Here's the other thing that, quite honestly, I didn't know this till I came to Must, but if you're on food stamps, you do not get hygiene products. So imagine the stigma a child already has, but their family can't get soap, their family can't get deodorant, shaving cream, things of that nature.
And those things are going to make someone stand out right away in a crowd.
They will. It gives a stigma. It attaches a stigma to you. So what we do in those pantries, the great thing is we know that the parents live close by. Those families are close by. Their children are enrolled in that school. So that helps to take care of that transportation problem. They can come each month and pick up these groceries. It amounts to about 75 pounds of groceries.
Wow.
When you break it down in dollars, we can take care of those families on roughly $12 per family.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's how
Yeah.
people get involved with us, and they give the $12 knowing they're sponsoring a family. The other great thing is having your Cobb County School social workers to be able to identify those families. And so they go by a different set of standards perhaps than maybe we would have if you were just walking into our building. We're there as a guest of the Cobb County Schools to provide the pantries, and it's just amazing the stories that you hear.
So in a lot of ways, you're really kind of, it's not just, you don't really want folks to just go to the grocery store and buy a bunch of food, because you're really kind of targeting what your needs are based on and the folks that you're helping.
Exactly. The last pantry was done at McCleskey Middle School. And McCleskey's has been extremely successful in these first few months. And so, again, you wouldn't think of McCleskey as necessarily being geographically located in an area of need, but I think about 46% of the students there are on free and reduced lunch programs.
Wow. Now, we talked about jobs and the importance of bringing the food pantries to the location.
Yes.
So one of the other, if you want to say the 4 things that you do, is help people get a job.
We do, because, you know, jobs build our clients' esteem. We try to create not charity here, we try to create parity, and parity being something that lifts people up and helping them to get a job. So last year at Must, over 550 people got a job, and here's something I know you'll really appreciate. It represented $9.3 million back into the economy.
Well, and that's, yeah, and it's also a lot of money that now when folks get a job and they're helping to provide for themselves, they're not having to be provided for.
Double win.
Yes.
You know, we win, the client wins, the self-esteem, all of those kinds of things. So we love our jobs program. And you know, we're Cobb County, you've got some fabulous companies that come
Oh, we do,
and
yes,
help
and a
you.
lot of opportunities, and a lot of folks just given kind of a direction on how to get there. And you know, folks can see on the screen right now the picture of the computer room, so to speak, or the job lab, I'll call it.
Right.
And that's where you can, you know, help folks, because a lot of stuff, as you mentioned, you do it online, and so you kind of help them walk through that.
We do, and we do certification programs, and this is something that we're really proud of here. Like we do Serve Safe training. That's for the restaurant industry.
Yeah, folks see those up on the wall, right?
Exactly, and no pun intended, we help people to get a foot up on the situation by buying them the non-slip sole shoes that they need in the restaurant industry. We do training with OSHA. To be able to help people get jobs in the construction industry, and we provide them a certificate of safety that they've gone through, and then from Cintas we buy them the steel-toe boots.
Okay.
So they're walking onto a job site with a certificate saying, you know, I've been through safety training. They've got the work boots that they need. So sometimes it's just those kinds of simple things that you're doing that ends up really helping people. We do forklift training. We do several different types of training in industries that we know in Cobb County there's a good chance people are going to get a job.
Right, and there actually are a lot of job opportunities in Cobb with everything that's going on.
Yes.
You know, but a lot of these folks that are in need don't really know how to get there, or the special skills they need, or like you said, special clothes and things. So, well, let's take a short break, and we come back, we'll talk about the other two things that we do here at Must.
Very good.
We'll be right back after a short break.
Volunteers are the heart of Must Ministries. We could not fulfill our mission of serving our neighbors in need without the dedicated, generous support of 10,000 volunteers who sacrifice their time to be a blessing to others. There's a verse in Thessalonians that teaches us to love and encourage each other. And that's what our volunteers do every day through acts of loving kindness, whether it's a handshake, a smile, providing clean clothes, or a meal. Our volunteers encourage and love and support not only our clients, but also our staff. You are the heart of Must Ministries, and we thank you.
Whether you're a mom helping us provide summer lunch to a child who would otherwise be hungry, whether you're a Sunday school class helping us volunteer at the Elizabeth Inn by making a meal for those who are experiencing homelessness, whether your corporation is giving your associates time off to help sort clothes in our donation center, knowing that those clothes will one day be on someone's back who otherwise wouldn't have clothes. Whether you're a volunteer who helps us provide intake services to those who are come across our door and help a family who comes through our door feeling hopeless discover hope again, we just want to say thank you for your service.
Hey, I'm Ike Reichert. I have the unique privilege of getting to be the president and CEO of Must Ministries. But let me tell you what, Must Ministries would not be happening today if it were not for the great group of volunteers that we've been blessed with. So whether you're the volunteers that are working at our food pantries, or maybe you're at the donation center, or perhaps you're some of those who are over at the Elizabeth Inn. Seems like so many people always associate us with the Elizabeth Inn and over 82,000 hot meals that have been served there. I can't thank you enough. And then to our newest members with the Save It Forward program, we're delighted that you're on board and a part of our Must family. God bless each and every one of you for all that you do.
Welcome back, and as we said in the beginning of the program, we're over here at Must Ministries with Dr. Ike Reingard, who's the CEO and president. And before the break, we talked about how Must Ministry helps people with their food needs and also to get a job.
Absolutely.
So now we've taken care of feeding them. Mm-hmm. We've taken care of getting folks to be able to be self-sustaining.
Right.
And so now the next thing that you help them with is finding a place to live.
We do. And along with finding them a place to live, the food comes back into play. We have the Elizabeth Inn homeless shelter, which is a walk-up homeless shelter. And with 72 beds, it's right at half the beds that are available in Cobb County at a walk-up shelter. Beside that building, we have the Loaves and Fishes kitchen. And in that kitchen, 3 meals a day are cooked. And it's not just limited to the people who stay at the Elizabeth Inn. There's some people who have chosen to not live inside our facility or any other. But they're looking for the opportunity to come in and take a shower and to get a hot meal. So we help to provide that there on that particular campus. But the Loaves and Fishes last year did 86,000 hot meals.
Wow.
So pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's a lot of folks.
You ask anyone in the restaurant industry, if you did 86,000 meals, would you be doing pretty well? And they say, absolutely. So
and that's probably the only hot meal that some of these folks have. There's
no question about it. And some of them, Commissioner, are senior adults who are on a fixed income. They're having trouble. Maybe their medications are costing them more right now than they have before, and they just find themselves in a tight situation, and they can come in and get a meal. So every morning when you're staying at the Elizabeth Inn, you get up about 6 o'clock in the morning, and you go over and you have breakfast. And after breakfast, then you're handed a sack lunch, and you go out and you look for a job. I used to wonder as I pulled off that Canton connector and I'd be looking at the Elizabeth Inn and I'd think, I wonder how long people stay there. Because I'm thinking, are they there for a year or 2 years? Yeah. The answer is on average 35 days. No one wants to live in a homeless shelter.
No.
And again, it's a difficult place to be in your life, and so they want to be able to move on. So the average stay is 35 days. We can keep people up to 42 days with the government regulations from HUD that we're under. But being able to move them out, and here's something that we just recently were able to nail down that we're very proud of. 69% of the people who come through our shelter go to a more stable environment for their housing. So whether it's us
so now do you
helping
think,
them,
do you think that what we've talked about so far, it would seem to me that what's happening is, you're providing this homeless shelter for that immediate need, but you're also providing direction
absolutely.
and kind of instructing these folks who are down and out, and they wouldn't be there if they kind of really knew the ins and outs of how to get a job or stay, go to a new job, and that's how they've gotten to where they are. So I think what folks need to understand is that's one of the things you're doing is you're getting these folks back on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. And Commissioner, one of the things that I've really come to realize since I've been here is that where we sit in Cobb County, people tend to think of homelessness and issues of poverty as being inner city. It's an urban problem. But in the last 20 years, there's kind of a new sociological phenomena of suburban poverty. The problem is most of the people who are in suburban poverty, they've not grown up with systemic poverty in their life. They know how to work through the system, how to get needs met. But a lot of people who live in Cobb County suddenly find themselves without a home. They've never been in this position
Right.
before.
I mean, it could be medical that got them there. It
No
could be
question.
losing the job that got them. I mean, and it can happen relatively quickly. And a lot of folks live, paycheck to paycheck.
I think,
And the minute the paycheck goes away, they're in an environment they don't know anything about.
I think I saw a statistic recently that 43% of people are like one paycheck away. And it's a part of the environment that we're living in today. A younger generation is finding themselves facing the same thing. Again, another study that I was reading about yesterday, that right at 50% of millennials find themselves starting at a salary that's less than what their parents started at.
But of course, for millennials, they have mom and dad to go back to in a lot of cases.
Yes.
Whereas when your mom and dad are the ones that get into that situation, they have nowhere to turn.
Yeah, multiple generations coming to the Elizabeth Inn is not unusual anymore. That's why one of our dreams is to be able to build a new shelter. And in building the new shelter, the Elizabeth Inn is just a repurposed church. The upstairs worship center is men's dormitories, downstairs women's dormitory, and a couple of small family rooms. We really need more family rooms. Not unusual at all to find a grandmother coming in and her daughter and then the granddaughter coming in through the doors. And so many times the people who come to us, and you mentioned earlier medical, there's more than one exacerbating situation in their life, one or more. So sometimes it's they've got a medical condition, it's diabetes or a heart condition or any other number of factors that limit them. So what we do then with that population is that we help to transition them into our permanent supportive housing.
Okay.
So you've got 72 people that are under our umbrella in the Elizabeth Inn, but there's about 110 other people that are in things like apartments. We have some apartments called Shepherd's Walk. We have townhomes. We have other properties. Sometimes we've been approached and given money to help us buy properties, which is a great win for us all the way around. So on any given night, I tell people, just think of about 180 people being under our umbrella. About 25% are military veterans.
Yeah, which that's a shame, but that's a whole nother story.
It is.
So, and now the final piece is, you help folks with the food, you help folks with the housing, you help them get a job, and then there's always the need for clothing,
Absolutely.
especially during the cold seasons.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
The clothing has been something that I'm very proud of, that we took a new direction. I read a book called Toxic Charity. It's written by a gentleman named Bob Ott. And in the book, he really challenged organizations like Must. And he said, if you have a warehouse and you're bringing people to the back of that warehouse and you're just giving them clothes in a black plastic bag and you're sending them out the door, this is where I learned the term. He said, what you've done then is you've created charity. But you ought to create parity. You ought to give them the opportunity if they want to buy something extra. Well, believe it or not, we were set up in such a way that you would come in and we would give you clothes we would have a list of what you qualified for, and you couldn't even say, I want to buy a belt. We weren't equipped to do that. So we went to a thrift store model, so that everything that comes into us through that thrift store is just immediately plowed right back into programs.
Okay.
That's why we exist. So now you can come to the Must Marketplace thrift store.
Okay.
You come into a brightly lit environment, and we have all kinds of amazing deals that are in there. And our clients have their version of a debit card, so that you wouldn't know them from any other shopper. You wouldn't know the difference between a kid from Kennesaw State coming over here thrifting, which is interesting to me. The college kids love to thrift, and the older population loves to thrift shop.
My daughter is all about thrifting. I mean, because she did costumes in high school, and they go to thrift stores, and she just, to her, it's no big deal.
Yeah, it's
so it's really important for the folks that have to be there or need to be there that they feel like they're not any different. So you kind of mentioned a little bit, and and folks think of the season of giving from Thanksgiving to Christmas, but the reality is it's all the time for you.
It is all the time, and there's the seasonal opportunities that we have that I haven't mentioned, like the summer lunch feeding program. We had a teacher come to us now 21 years ago, and she said, and by the way, she still helps to administer the program, which I think is really neat. But she was a teacher. She came to Must, and she said, I've got a group of children that when school is over, they're not going to have a place to get food.
Otherwise, if when school's in session, that's how they're getting their meals. Well, when school's out, the meal doesn't magically appear.
And the children were developing anxiety over what are we going to do. And so, and again, I know it's hard for people to believe that this exists, especially at the level that it exists in this county, but it is very, very real. So this teacher said, could Must maybe do something? So that first year they had like 25 children they took care of.
Okay.
Well, now we go the entire 10 weeks of the summer break, and this past summer, summer break was 1 week less than it was the year before. We fed 300,000 the summer before. We fed 250,000.
Individuals?
Yes, 300,000 lunches.
Wow.
That are put together
for the
all
summer.
By volunteers.
Wow.
Chick-fil-A joins in with us on one day, and they provide Chick-fil-A
Actually,
sandwiches.
I think I've seen some of the schools. I know where my wife works. They have their make the sandwich day or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's what helps us. It is incredible to watch this community come together. And I'm telling you, I love living in Cobb County. And one of the biggest reasons is the way people support one another and encourage one another.
Well, speaking of sport, okay, so we've talked about what you do. It doesn't come for free.
Correct.
And so obviously financial support is always helpful. But
yes, sir.
What are some of the different ways folks can help out? How can they donate? What can they donate? Where can they donate?
Food drives in your neighborhood. We always need food. We go to the principals and we talk to the principals. What's number one need that you have? It's food for our children. The educators tell us it is awfully hard for a child to concentrate on their work when they're sitting there with their stomachs growling. So that's why United Way had a campaign this year called Silence the Growl.
Okay.
Because there's so many kids that are struggling in that area. So you can do food drives. You can certainly go to mustministries.org and hit the donate button and be a part of that.
Okay.
We do events like Gobble Jog. We just finished with 9,412 runners on Thanksgiving morning, and that's our single biggest fundraiser.
Okay.
So it's great. Around the season, now this will probably be airing in January.
Yes.
But in December, we do the Must Toy Shop. Last year, that's in 2015, we did 4,200 plus children. The parents get to come in. It's better than Nordstrom's, Commissioner. They get to come in, have a personal shopper that goes around with them so that the parents they know if their little boy prefers basketball over football or their daughter prefers this over that. And it gives them, again, the dignity. Create parity, not charity.
Okay.
Let them pick out the gifts for their children. And we just have amazing partners. Home Depot is coming in and working with us on the veterans side of things. They help to provide a veterans Christmas party. I could go on and on with the companies. Enterprise Leasing did an amazing thing that by the time this program airs, people will know about, but they walked through our doors today and gave us a check for $35,000. And not only $35,000, but a commitment that they're doing this 6 years in a row.
That's great.
That's just huge.
Well, on the bottom of the screen, we've put your website so
Thank
folks
you.
can know where to go. So it's been a pleasure to find out more about Must Ministries. And so that's it for this month. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next month.
Welcome home, man.
But it would be safe to keep your distance until the
No secret that laughter makes you smile.
reliable sources say that chicken soup has found their way out of this dangerous, but it will be safe until they are returned.
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. Get Fire Adapted now. Learn simple steps at fireadapted.org.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him opening his own clothing store at the age of 18? 1 in 138,000. Excited to be a part of pop culture, he packed for the big city. The odds of finding someone to invest in his vision? 1 in 4.5 million. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.